You asked me a question why there was a picture of the forest. So cinema, television, OTT, internet, that's a forest of information and entertainment and audiovisual uh, as our background and our scope over here. And I had, on behalf of the host, reached out to all the panelists and requested them to focus on a few points that we will take through in the next few minutes over here. I'm going to go with the ladies first, if the gents don't mind. And I want each of the panelists to take about 2.5 minutes and no more than that to just respond to two points over here, which is your vision of OTT as you see it now, the key challenges that you think, and what's working and what's coming in its way. So what's good for it? What's the challenges for you? Your vision in 2 minutes. Divya, we start with you.
Hi, Sunil. Good to meet you, everybody.
Lovely.
What's working for OTT? I think, okay, very shortly, I think what's working for OTT is convenience, right? So the kind of content that I want to see, the time that I want to see, however much I want to see. I may feel like watching 2 episodes, I may feel like watching half an episode or even binge watch. So I think that works beautifully. The fact that, this country has seen, let me use that word which I often use, geoification, which has led to internet bandwidth being all powerful, moving into 5G mode now, less buffering, hinterlands getting sort of connected, with India now standing at 55% connectivity almost. And the fact that, it's now much cheaper to go to an internet. Thereby, it also allows the OTT players to play at a larger scale, at a larger level. So now you can actually create content which appeals to all sectors of audience. So you need not create only content which is for the Sec A. Now you can actually address masses, right? So there are going to be categories of content. There is a larger play, there's a larger field for everybody. So largely, I think that's what's working. Also the consumer mindset that we are willing to pay for good content. They're cutting cords, they're moving to OTT, they're moving to multiplexes. And multiplexes itself have been a tragedy, unfortunately, but away from TV as well. So I think very quickly summing up, these are all the factors which have worked. But I think overall, it's also about a consumer mindset and convenience. It's like, moving from an X mall to another mall just because the other mall is far more evolved, better, has many more themes that probably the new consumer wants. So it's a new consumer mindset, I think, which is also driving OTT. Felicitation.
Thank you, Divya. Over to you, Amrita.
Yeah, so I think I will more focus on the content because I think with OTT, we actresses have been given the opportunity to face a different kind of content. As far as I'm concerned, before I was on television. And I used to do roles where I'll take an example, like, I've been beaten by my husband and, I'm that pativrata kind of thing. And then people are loving it. And then, but I was suffocated. Also as an audience, and also portraying those kind of characters, I was suffocated. But then OTT opened doors for me and I could do characters which were nearer to me, who I am as a person. So, and as far as my audience is concerned, I think they were also relieved because there were there were women who were suffering like I was portraying on television. There were women who were like the characters I was portraying on OTT. So the kind of changing content happened that really made me free. And I think that also made many of my audiences free. And I got those kind of reactions. So I think that kind of freedom was very welcoming for me as an actress, as well as I'm sure the kind of responses I'm getting from the audience, it was welcoming and more freer for them. That's what I think.
Thank you, Amrita. Rasika, your view? You're on mute.
Sorry, I always say the most profound things when I'm on mute.
Repeat it then. Please repeat it.
I said that it's for me. Actually, OTT was a really freeing space because of the fact that it didn't rely heavily on declaring numbers and sort of identifying a piece of work by box office numbers, for example. I know that that's changing a lot, and it's something that I'm really fearful of. Platforms have begun to release numbers on on a variety of things, on how many people have watched their shows, for how long, etc., etc. I think that's fairly detrimental to a creative process, a kind of creative process that I have enjoyed in the last 3 years. But I think that the numbers are so nuanced and so much that you still can't identify a project with a single number. So that's a good thing. There are too many numbers floating around, so maybe it's not. Maybe it's for a lay person, it's not easy to understand that, and therefore the number game will be out of at least how the public perceives a certain piece of work. So I hope that remains in the future. I think writing is something that the OTT space has finally acknowledged and applauded a lot. And I hope that we find a way to constantly nurture that, because I feel like the loophole right now is that we find ways of giving enough time to the first season of a project, for example, but there doesn't seem to be a mechanism in place for either in terms of time or in terms of writing setups or development funds for writing to sort of already have the writing of subsequent seasons to be in place. So I think we have to find a way to really nurture good writing.
Thank you. Manvi?
So just to add, to what Rasika, Divya, Amruta have all said, because I agree with all of that, is just that, we've always, I felt with television and films, before OTT, with television and films, there was one section of the audience which was completely ignored, which was people like you and I, because we wouldn't watch television, we weren't watching the soaps that were coming on television, we were watching films every alternate Friday or every alternate weekend, and again at our own pace. Maybe we would sometimes wait for it to come out on DVD or Blu-ray, and then we would watch it. Sometimes we'd catch it in theaters. So, but there was this whole audience which is between, let's say, 15 to 30. Earlier it was 35. Now I'm guessing it's extended to 45, 50. I don't know, which was completely ignored. And there were people who they felt alienated because the stories that were being told they didn't relate to. The films were too aspirational. They were larger than life. And suddenly there was OTT which showed content which was relatable. There were stories that we all related to. They were the characters spoke in a language that we all spoke in. The characters had problems that we all have either had or are still having. So it was just, I feel that it caught the fancy of that one section, which was largely ignored for the longest time. And now that is expanding. We're bringing it, that section is expanding more and more. And I think it's just going to keep expanding.
Thank you. And Rahul, over to you.
Thanks, Sunil. I think nice. Happy to meet all of you today. I sort of pretty much agree with all the points made by Divya, Amrita, Manvi, and Rasika, because, and I think your question is fair. There has been a huge surge in, the new category of OTT. It's a fairly new category. It didn't exist as strongly. So I'm just going to talk about a few macro indicators, what's happening here. 2012, in India, we were consuming about 2 minutes of video per day on an average, and that's shot up to close to 93 minutes per day. There's a huge increment in, on how Indians are consuming content online, and that's backed by the growth of internet. Not only has it disrupted the media industry, it's disrupted many industries. Starting from retail to travel to F&B. We're seeing that sort of shift happening, and media has been successfully riding this wave. So that's a good thing. We are about 650 million active internet users right now, pegged to become 900 million by 2025. So there's a huge opportunity which still lies ahead of us. 450 million video viewers. That's a huge set of audience. The OTT players, or let's put it, the content companies are trying to address. And I think the other panelists have covered it very well. The opportunity to offer new stories in a new engaging format at convenience is what is sort of giving this growth for digital video and OTT. So yeah, it's going to be more and more exciting. I think we're just starting off with the journey right now. We have about 50, close to 50 OTT players already, in the market right now in India. The numbers going to shoot up. We will see more and more, innovative formats, specialized OTT players coming into the market. So it's going to be more and more exciting for both content creators, actors, and business owners. Yeah.
Thank you. Ram, not the last but not the least.
Hi, Chanel. Thank you so much. Very happy to be part of this eminent panel. So the last 2 years, what we've seen is that cost cutting has accelerated, and the power is now in the hands of the consumer, who's no longer dictated by the TV programming, TV channel programming schedule. So, and also what we've seen is that everyone in this ecosystem is learning. There is also a blurring of language and borders. We've seen good adoption of Indian language shows and movies across the spectrum. For example, we've got 12 plus Indian languages on our platform, and we've seen that, for example, a Marathi movie is not just watched by Marathi speaking audience, but across the spectrum, across the country, by non-Marathi speaking audiences too. We've also seen a great adoption of foreign language shows, especially Korean, Turkish, and Spanish shows. That means the consumer is not just looking for good content, is looking for good content and language. It's no longer language or culture does not seem to be deterrent anymore. And what I see is OTTs will invest both in content and technology to ensure that this experience keeps getting bigger and better. To give you an example, we've invested in technology to do automatic subtitling of our content. What we've done is right now we've got a partnership with Google Cloud, and we've implemented automatic subtitling of our content in Arabic, which we've launched in the MENA market. So we see what I foresee is that there'll be a lot of innovation both in content, good content and tech. Some of the challenges which I see in this sector is that internet penetration, last mile is still an issue. Piracy is an issue, plus constantly evolving regulation around payments, which is a deterrent. And I think this sector is still evolving, and we will continue to learn.
Thank you. That's nice to hear different views. I think everybody is optimistic. I think everybody believes the market's really ahead of us, right? TV has scale. They can put hundreds of hours of programming. So they have content scale. They have a bunch of writers, actors, and they have many stories. And they tell the same story sometimes every day. Movie has scale of money and impact, right? Because they can spend 500 crores, 300 crores, whatever number you want on one single film. At least they did that 2 years ago. And OTT, I think, has a diversity of audiences. I think some of you mentioned the city slick people. Somebody mentioned the people in really small towns, and many of you know those stories. Some of you have grown up in modest environments. And then you have those who are still to adopt, right? And given you all have a role to play in this industry, what would you like to see change? What would you like to see drive? How would you build that scale? Some of you mentioned technology. Yes, it'll play a role. But writing stories, creating content, right? Creating stars like some who are on our screen today, right? Creating differentiated content from documentaries to soaps to comedy to whatever else. So what do you think is going to be the next 2 years? Forget what's in production, or what do you think can go into the pipeline? Anybody and everybody.
So I wanted to actually add this in the previous point, but it kind of applies here as well, which is that I think from an actor point of view, I think one of the biggest challenges we have is clutter, right now, because I mean, to break through the clutter, because there, like Rahul said, there are around 50 OTT platforms already,
Yeah.
And each of them has like a gamut of shows and films and library, and then and there are newer shows and newer films being added to it as we speak. And to break through that, to reach audiences, to reach and to kind of stand out in terms of content or whatever is, I think that is a pretty big challenge, creatively speaking. I don't know the commerce of it, but so that I think so. Like you said, differentiated content. You give them a variety. People will get to choose if there's someone who wants to watch a sports-based documentary. They have that option. If someone wants to watch a masala film, they have that option. But I think for me, the biggest challenge is to break through the clutter. And I see right now the only solution that I'm seeing being put into use is pumping money into marketing, which I'm not sure is very sustainable. Also, it then applies only to the bigger players. I mean, what do the smaller players do in that case? And then again, you'll have this whole hierarchy of trying to go to a bigger name, and for a filmmaker or a content creator, how do they kind of get that scale and mount their project on such a large scale. So I think that is right now everybody's just putting in money into marketing and promoting. And I don't know. I mean, I would like to now ask you guys this question as to
good.
what you think is the solution to that.
So
Yeah, what to add to what Manvi was, yeah.
no.
Sorry,
go
Divya,
ahead.
you were saying.
I'll give up after that. Please go.
Okay. So to add to that, I would say that, if I speak for the content, because I think it has been always that content is the king, but with now OTT coming in, I think content is also becoming the queen. Because earlier I was when working on television, I was very scared when I go to a certain age. Will there be challenging roles for me? What is my future? And then OTT happened to India. I was not aware at that time that OTT was going to happen to India, and it happened. And when Sacred Games happened, the role which I played was basically, to start with, it was a male role, and it was converted into a female role. And I think that was something important started to happen. And I told many of my male co-actors, like, you are good actors, you are getting good roles, but this is something vital started happening with OTT, that all of us, like Rasika, like Manvi, and like many of us, we want to do different kind of work, we want to have different kind of characters, and OTT is opening doors for that, and that has been happening for us, I think. And as far as audience is also concerned, I think I speak for Marathi community, because we have a whole tradition of Marathi theatre and Marathi television and all these things. And I realized that these traditions were formed, and now this OTT is a new thing coming up, and it is competing with these traditions. This theatre tradition which is already established, and this television thing which is already established. So to compete with that, I realized that these traditions were established because they, after a point of time, they took subjects which were woman targeted with a woman protagonist, and they, like many of our plays, many of our television series, they have women protagonists, so not only because I'm an actress I'm saying this, but it's a fact that even content wise now OTT is also exploring that. And I think that, because see, women once now, of course, women is working women, but there are many women who are at home and who want good entertainment, and they want an alternative. They keep saying, oh, I don't like this serial, I don't like that, but what is the alternative? So I think that is a very good thing, and if those kind of contents come more, then I think that would be great.
So that's interesting. Half the country, which is say women, need diversity. These poor gentlemen who are on the show, I'm going to come back to them on this question, right? Divya, you have started to speak, Divya.
No, very briefly, I think the biggest challenge is breaking the clutter, right? Because like Rahul mentioned, with 50 OTT platforms, of course, everybody is launching, and it's not only national, but regional content as well. So for us, the challenge remains, how do we break the clutter? But to address Manvi's thing, that pumping in money in marketing, is that the answer? No, not really. Because, if the content has no true feed, no matter how much you pump it probably might stand for the initial 10 days. And after that, when marketing backs off, then the content is going to fall flat on its face. That's a universal rule applicable, right? So I think the challenge is breaking the clutter. That break the clutter has to happen by an OTT platform, not only through content, but through marketing, but through tech, and but through other innovations as well. So it has to be a composite package, and that will also shine through in how you do your revenue models, your business models, your co-production deals, and everything. That is the real challenge of sustenance of the business of OTT.
Yes,
That's
absolutely. So, Rahul and Ram, a counter view, men versus women, given OTT in the world, started
It's
with
not
men,
versus.
with very, no, it's okay. It's a topic, right? It's okay. It's not versus, I know, but men versus women. It started in America with content being created around men. Some of the ladies here raised the subject about how they perform and should the show's performance metrics be out there because it will create for a healthy economy. And how do you see scale? Just the two of you, if you could throw some light.
Sure, Ram, should I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, great. I think very, very interesting points on that front. And I'm going to just really go back to, the point you raised about how does OTTs continue to grow? How do we do things differently? How do we bring in more stories so that we actually see that steady pace and growth? I can give you one example, and actually it's a real life example from what Shimaru is doing. We entered the Gujarat market recently, okay, and Gujarat market, I'm sure all of us know, is considered a HSM market where the audiences actually consume content in Hindi. So they watch a lot of Hindi shows, they watch a lot of Hindi movies, and essentially the Gujarat actor, producer, director ecosystem never saw that growth. So what OTT players can actually do here is nurture and develop certain regional, storytelling opportunities. Our mission when we went to the market was to make Gujaratis fall in love with Gujarati entertainment once again. That industry existed in the 80s. It sort of, because of the huge Hindi wave, moved away. And now once we've gone back to the market and are able to offer great quality stories in their language, which resonates with the Gujarati way of consuming stories, being, as Amrita mentioned, being, putting women protagonists back again into the play culture or anything else, that actually has been very encouraging. So I think OTT players, just like television did many years ago, we had one channel which would show a mix of music, soaps, part of news. Then they all started to become 24-hour news channels, 24-hour. And Sunil, obviously, I don't need to. You're an expert in that. We started to see genres coming up within the television ecosystem where people took risk. People actually went out and said, "I'm going to launch a 24-hour investigation channel." It's a big risk. Market didn't exist, but you nurture the market, you grow it with the audiences, and that's what I think OTT players should be focusing on right now. And I'm happy a lot of us are doing it at this stage.
Ram?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, I think what's happening is that we are not divided by boundaries. Content in one, like what Rahul also mentioned right now, content in one language gets consumed across the spectrum. And I don't think, we should get into the number game. While it does matter in terms of revenue and viewership and decision making in terms of how do you build your numbers, subscriptions, etc. But the diversity of content is important. How do you get users more engaged? And experimentation is the key. I mean, if we go with the regular television formula, then you'll see all the OTTs doing the same kind of shows.
Yeah.
Everybody dying at the same time, everybody reincarnating at the same time. So I don't think we should get.
I must say that it's very encouraging for an actor when you hear a marketing person say that it shouldn't be about the number game.
I support that view because once the numbers are out, I think we won't be able to host conferences like these either, right? We'll have a fight on that. So I'm now going to, I think we need some excitement here. So we need to argue differently, right? One of the things that happened in the West to push the creation of content, OTT content, was the change in the ownership of IP. The West always regarded that the creator owns the IP. In India, the creators are work for hire, right? That's the big difference between these two parts of the world. What is your view as actors and as screen people and as content creators? Who should own this IP at the end of the day? Which way should the profit share go? I know the platforms will have a different view, and I would like them to have their own view over this. So we will go to Amrita, Manvi, Rasika first.
I just want royalty. That's all.
That's a good move to have made, okay? Because in today's world, the music artists get paid a lot of money on royalty because of the transparency that has come in through all the digital mediums, right? So I think that's a good move to have made. So what is it, royalty per scene you're thinking?
I haven't figured it out yet, but
Okay.
but
No, I think it should be, Rasika, it should be on basis of the emotions we play or something like that.
if
Okay,
I have
so
to give
more
royalty
money.
for every emotional scene I do, I'd be very, very rich by now. Let me but no, but very seriously, contracts in the West, as far as I know, have clauses for royalty. Here, when I sign contracts, I feel like I'm basically signing away my human rights. So so it needs to be relooked at, and I don't know how to do that or where to go, because platforms and producers are so much stronger than actors. They have so much more power than we do. I have no idea how to even start this movement.
Okay.
I second that because when I was doing television, then also I was feeling the same thing. And now also when we are on OTT, when I see the clause and when I ask that, can we change this? So there's no option of changing, right? I mean, it's you just have to. So as Rasika said, I second what she was saying. Yeah.
And
So,
I also think that those things need to be looked at. We have very standard templates which have come from the West, which don't apply to our country. For example, just sorry to get into a ridiculous detail, but very often subsequent seasons tie you in at a certain amount, and that amount is something that seems to have been, the percentage seems to have been borrowed from the West. And that does not apply here, because the inflation rates in India are very different from the inflation rates in the US.
I second that.
If you've tied me into a subsequent season for a certain percentage which works in the US, because they have the inflation rate is far lesser than ours, it's just not fair. It doesn't work. So even smaller things like that, I'm just saying that they need to be looked at differently.
Manvi, you want to add something, or should I go to Ram?
No, royalty, because that is something I think we're not even thinking about that. Nobody wants it nobody wants it here, except the actors, who they feel will be the only ones benefiting from it. I think profit sharing across territories, across different kinds of you have merchandise, you also have different languages. It's re-released in. I mean, I burn with envy when I see the cast of Friends still living off that damn show, and I'm like, what? Like, it's been 20 years or something, and they don't need to do anything. And again, and we've also, I mean, I'm not saying we've created something as cult as, let's say, a Friends, but I mean, I'm sure we've created some decent content, and which will survive over the years and across generations and countries. But somehow the royalty is something nobody's speaking of as of
So that's put Ram, Rahul, and Divya on the mat. Ram?
So, the business models in the OTT sector is still evolving. I don't think even in terms of monetization of the content, whether it's really working out for everyone. Even now we're looking at, OTT platform figuring out SVOD model or AVOD models. I think this sector will continue to evolve, and it's just a function of dialogue between everyone to figure out what works, what doesn't work. I think it'll take some time.
So he's not said no. Divya and Rahul, he's left it open.
He's left it ambiguous.
But that's
Ambiguous.
classic. It's like it's being done. It's on the way.
It's coming.
I'm getting there.
Divya is not going to pay you royalty. So Divya.
This is a very interesting debate, and I'm sitting on the panel with these three gorgeous women actors, and I dare not speak very bluntly, but while I love the idea of, actors asking for royalty, and, probably one of the things which can be considered in future, but will the same actors, and I say it with good intentions, be willing to cut back their fee, right? It's like when I go for a startup, I may be told, you know what, I'm going to cut your salary, but I'll give you ESOPs. So you do well when the organization grows. So I'm just putting a thought on the table that, digital space is evolving so much now. And it's if you look at it from a platform point of view, the platform is investing every penny. They're taking all the punt, whether it's content, tech, marketing, everything. And even if, let's say, the commercials were to be explored in this manner, are actors willing to put equal skin in the game? So, I mean, this is a healthy debate to have, I feel, where if this is a thought process, then here's another thought process is all I would say.
No, that's nice. I think.
Sure. That's a very good thought. And
I think
we
that's
have
the point of it, right? Because exactly the point of it is that if more people have skin in the game, then everybody is more invested in what they're doing. It's very, I think it's very helpful.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So would you be willing to cut down your fee?
Yeah. And if you give me royalty, yes.
Listen,
sure.
Let's cut down.
This is on record.
And look at a royalty module. Because like I'm saying, that's how today's startups are also treating a lot of people, saying, especially as a leadership mandate, where they say, you know what, we're going to cut off your compensation, but we'll give you ESOPs. So everybody's got a skin in the game.
Yeah, which is great, which is very healthy in my opinion.
Yeah, which is that's what I think will give it a far more collaborative feel, because then everybody's got things at stake and everybody's going to work that much harder, would, like you said, have skin in the game. I think that's very healthy.
Yeah, like I was watching the series Scenes from Marriage. So right from Jessica, Isaac, all the actors, their names also come as like, EP producers. And so like, as you were saying, that they all are there as a team. They're there, right? I mean, so that's amazing, I think.
So I'm glad I've started one movement. Rahul, coming to you, and maybe just a change of scene. I know a lot of you have cast your stories and, you're in production for shows which are much ahead of stream, right? But where is the focus? If I look at 2021's coming to an end, right? If I look at 22 to 25, where's the focus? Men, women, kids, big towns, small towns, multiple languages, multiple ways. Where is the focus? What's going to take away the lion's share of your investment and play over there?
Okay. Sunil, thank you so much for moving me out of that question. First of all, thank you.
That's okay. I just want
Sunil, you forgot to address him in that.
No, I will. I just want to light the fire. That's it.
Yeah. No,
see, if there is a forest, there has to be a fire.
Correct.
There is a forest, yeah. So, Sunil, in terms of the future investments, where I can speak on behalf of Shimaru at this point of time. I'm sure every other company has their own agenda. We are actually looking at, as I said, nurturing new opportunities in regional. So that's the main focus for us. There are very, very developed few regional markets like in the South, like in the West as well. But there are many such regional markets where the regional voice hasn't come out in the true form in terms of storytelling or content. And we feel, so again, I'm going back to a bit of data again, but all data statistics are suggesting that there are going to be about 300 million more internet audiences coming in. And most of them are going to come from tier 2, tier 3 towns. These people most of them are actually television audiences who will move to video platforms in a formal way for the first time. I think that shift is what we want to target. More focus towards tier 2, tier 3, more focus towards regional. And in terms of genres, we will have to experiment. I don't have an answer. It's going to be adult content, it's going to be kids content, or it's going to be drama. I think it's going to be a mix of all of that, catering to tier 2, tier 3 markets and regional markets.
Ram or Divya have an other view?
So my point of view is that OTT is now going to evolve further. in terms of inclusive viewing, and individual viewing anyway was always there, right? With the sale of connected devices, smart TVs happening, people getting more accepting of the fact tier 2 towns buying so much from Great Indian Amazon sale and Flipkart sale, and these smart TVs getting delivered at their home, them getting demos on how they can catch up on unique narratives, etc., on the larger screen, right? So it paves the way, I think, for two types of viewing, like I keep saying, inclusive and individual viewing. So I think we at Alt will certainly invest into drama, into thriller, into romance, into young urban, semi-urban kind of shows, because these themes are all, inclusive viewing. These can be seen together with a family. When it comes to youth, when it comes to slightly sensual shows, these are the ones that people like to do individually in their own time and space. So this will also continue as a narrative for us. So for sure, these investments are happening by us. Of course, we would like to, grow tech, move more into the vertical video formats, move more into, the search voice piece, enhance into more regional catalog, etc. I think we would also like to play a little with immersive content. We would also like to do gamification around the content and rewards programs. So these are the things that we are currently working with, and Mark will keep walking the path it has to in terms of innovations.
I should tell Amrita, Manvi, and Rasika, gamification means you can take a spike in royalties, okay? That's what you have to keep in the back of your head. Ram, you came with Eros came with a massive library of movies, right? Which have been successful cinema. And how do you balance this investment of movies and content? And, how do you see the next 3 years?
So, we are anyway seeing a lot of growth in the tier 2, tier 3 market. More than 50% of our viewership comes from there. We are investing in, so beyond our existing library, we've already announced that we're investing in 8 Indian language content, shows and movies. So there is a significant amount of investment happening in the regional space. Apart from this, there's a lot of work happening on tech, especially AI and machine learning. We are investing a lot in that. One is subtitling and translation into Arabic, and looking at other languages too. We are also looking at smartly trying to figure out how do I use AI in building scripts and storyline. What will work and what will not work, those kind of tech. So these are the areas that we are focusing on.
I think the stars watch out and AI will replace you, okay? That's what he is saying.
Yeah.
So, we
All of us.
correct.
One day
So-
we replace.
So the word we hear often, when we discuss OTT is small town, middle class, middle tier. The three of you, what does this mean to you when somebody says small town? What comes when what's your memory? What's the nostalgia? What's the aspiration? How do you feel about it?
At home, I grew up in a small town, so I could totally relate to that and feel like they're talking about me.
Yeah, same
Yeah,
here.
so-
Even I've been doing many roles who connect to small town people. So even I think it's very me when they talk about small town. Yeah.
I actually feel the word small town has been bastardized by Bollywood to such a large extent. Like the minute they have a female character from a small town, she's either extremely subservient or she's this bindas girl, their idea of this girl who's bold. And by bold small town girl, they mean someone who's bubbly, who's got this, like she smokes. Oh, like that's like the biggest, and any girl with any aspiration in a small town smokes, and I feel that's such a stupid stereotype to have, and again, it's been perpetuated by Bollywood films, and yeah, so either and I also feel that there's always this outsider view to small towns. When they're portraying small towns, they'll always show them as the people are trying to get out of small towns, and the girls are feeling suffocated. Maybe there's some truth to it, and I'm sure there is, but it just feels very. I don't know. So I've grown up in a city. So this is my understanding. I've always, for the longest time, I was afraid of traveling to small towns because I was like, no, they don't treat their women well, and I'll walk in, I won't be allowed to wear sleeveless, and I can't. All of these, I had these random, ridiculous notions in my head, which were completely false. I mean, they're not completely. They were there. There is definitely some truth to it, but it was also largely profiling, I felt. So yeah, that was my understanding of small.
But that's strange because yeah, this is also there what you said. But when I looked back and saw at all the characters I have seen, which was small town, they have this all the characters maybe it was Gully Boy, or maybe it was this Lily which I played. They're very strong and very not giving up, and come what may, I want to have what I want to have, kind of a thing. So that is also there when I think about small town.
Brought up Gully Boy. I love the film and I love how beautifully nuanced and detailed it is. But again, I felt it was an outsider view. Outsider's view. Like I just felt like I mean, I remember there's that scene where Ranveer is sitting in a car as a driver, and he's looking longingly at people having fun. What does that do? What does that say to an actual driver? That his life or his job is something that he should be embarrassed or sad about, but I like dignity of labor,
Very nice.
There's all of that. So I always felt that there's an outsider view. It's always shown as hai bichare, like they want to come here, but they can't. They don't have the opportunities. Again, I'm saying that there may be some truth to it, but they can be happy people, yeah, in small towns. They can be, actually pretty content with their lives also. So that's one creative change I would want to see, like happy stories from small towns. And yeah.
That's nice. So, Bollywood has a point of view. OTT certainly is now going to have a different point of view. What's the story you would like to see over the next 2-3 years? One story you think that is really compelling, that you happily sign a check for, if you were going to sign a check to get that story done. And we'll go with all of you. So whoever wants to begin, Ram.
Right now I'm completely addicted to the Squid Games. I mean, a series of that format will be like mind-blowing.
Okay.
I think I'm really looking forward to a good sitcom.
A good sitcom.
Yeah, I want you to see that. I'm curious to see Rasika because I know how well she would be amazing.
That's nice.
And for me, there is one project of mine which is ready, in which I play an alcoholic woman, and it's her point of view, but no one is picking up that content. I wish someone picks up that content where an alcoholic woman it's her point of view. Yeah.
I
Manvi,
have so many wishes and demands.
One.
I want woke content, and I don't mean. I mean, I know again, woke is something with a woke. The word woke has been overused, and again, it's not. It doesn't have a very positive connotation anymore. But I'm just politically correct, and just kind, empathic writing, and it could be any genre. It could be any. It can have a male protagonist, female protagonist, whatever, but the characters and the writing, actually, the viewpoint of the writer needs to be like a Schitt's Creek, for example. I keep giving Schitt's Creek example. I feel Schitt's Creek is something where, I mean, the writing itself is so empathic, and then once you've got that, then you can build on anything. Then you can make it go absurd, make it go realistic, make it go dark, as long as it's empathic and woke. I would like to see more woke content from India and homegrown woke content.
Okay. Anybody else?
I think since it's a personal choice,
Yes, it is. Your check.
That I would sign the check for is dystopian content. Good dystopian content getting made in India, which has not happened really. Somebody who can do a better job than Black Mirror and in India, I can put it out there. It may not get masses going, but that's the kind of content I would love to see.
Okay, fair enough. Good, nice. Rahul or Ram?
Yeah, I'll go now. So because OTT is sort of crossing all boundaries, and everybody's watching content from across the world. I would like India to have some content which puts India in a positive light. You know, like when I think of Mexico now, I think of drugs, thanks to narcos. You know, and I hope we are able to create certain content which puts the entire country in a positive light rather than any regressive content. So that's the sort of my personal view where we're able to put.
Nice. Ram?
I already shared.
Yeah. Okay. So
Squid
let's
Game.
go. Yeah, I know. I heard. I thought he might want to evolve from there into something else, but he's sticking to his interest. So, what are you guys watching now, and what's your favorite show?
I'm watching Protector.
You're watching Protector. Let's see the range we have.
I just
watching
finished watching season. Sorry.
Squid Game and Sex Education are the
Squid
latest.
Game. Okay.
Sex Education. I watched season 3 and I'm very
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm watching Scenes from Marriage and Never Have I Ever.
Okay. Rahul?
I'm watching a show called Animal Kingdoms on Netflix. It's not about animals though; it's about an outbreak family here.
Ram?
So I just finished watching this Tamil movie called Sarpatta Parambarai. So really love that.
Nice. So you notice one thing on this group that we have here today. The DNA is completely Indian, right? There is no Netflix, there is no Amazon, there is no Disney, right? I know that some of you are listed companies and therefore the shareholding may be very different. But what is your view of them versus us, if I want to call it that? That's another union flag going on, okay? I know you will appear on Netflix and Amazon and Hotstar and wherever else, but I'm asking, what is your view? What's the difference in the characteristic of way an Alt Balaji, which is an Indian company in its DNA, would create programming versus what you see the others do? You know?
So I'll just probably give this a very crisp answer. Alt has always proudly stood for being, relevant to the masses of the country. For Netflix or Amazon, it's been a top tier to cascade kind of a journey, and they are still working on that journey. A lot of their Indian content probably has not resonated well. A lot of has. So I think Alt is going to be different in its DNA, that we will proudly aspire to be the Hindi entertainment platform for the masses, which will possibly soon evolve into multiple other regional languages as well. But like I said, for me, that SEC AA audience is not really the audience, because obviously, the cost of acquisition of that audience is also way too high. I would rather play the mass and the volume in the number game. So for us, the content programming will also follow the path.
Anybody else?
For me personally, I have never. Sorry, Ram, you want to go?
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
For as an actor, I have never done this differentiations. Like the content comes first, and wherever it is that whether it's a play, whether it's a whatever platform it is, doesn't matter for me. For me, content and role is the thing which comes first. Yeah.
Okay. Ram, you were saying something?
Yeah, so for us, our focus is primarily on Indian languages, not just Hindi, but across the spectrum. We would like to take this not just in India, but also take it global. What I feel is Netflix and the rest bring their entire catalog of global content in India, which is a much larger focus compared to what we do here with Indian content. I think that would largely be the difference between the two of us.
So responsibility, right? You read about it sometimes when somebody raises a voice against a particular show, showing smoking, showing drugs, all showing different political views, right? Where are you guys on that framework? How seriously should there really be a structured guideline? Should there be more just certain principles? What should be the role of a framework of, let's say, guidelines, regulation, responsibility for actors, writers, developers, platform owners? What should really be there? There is no censorship, so be happy about that.
So, Sunil, I'll just take a little part on this. I think personally, the government is sort of the body has, said that go with self-regulation, guys, and they have given us a certain guidelines to play around with. I think at all we're quite happy to stick, to that area and be a little responsible in the kind of, content that we are putting out. But at no point of time do we want to be preachy as content creators or as actors or as platform owners or writers, because then you're losing the plot. Then you're not able to push the narrative, push the envelope, push the narratives. Then there's no uniqueness to what is going to be there on digital versus a television or versus a movie. So I think you do need a little bit of independence in interpreting a particular scene, particular situation. Yes, in a responsible way. So nobody's, attempting to, for example, show a genocide or incite communal hatred, etc. But yes, realistically, we would like to portray how things are staying within, the sort of the guidelines.
But I really like this term you use, being responsible, and that is, it's a simple term, but it means a lot for me. And I would say this on behalf of everyone, on us, and also because I have gone through things where people haven't seen the show, but they are just trolling it by hearing something, and they just don't even know what's there in it. So like, being responsible is such a unique and vital thing you said. Yeah.
Watch it before you trash it, right? That's really important, because you may not want to trash it after you watched it. There's a lesson to be learned. I agree. So I think we've had we always have a paucity of time, right? And thank you for being patient. We've covered some good subjects. If the royalty movement starts, you can blame me. That's fine. I'm okay with that. But I think there's a great interest and hope that content and platforms will continue to invest. And I think there's a large canvas over there. So when people say the market is crowded, I just think they're looking at the bottom of the class. They're not looking at the top, right? So I'm going to hand over to Anish. Thank you for your time. Have a lovely day, and may you all be successful in storytelling and in all your journeys. Right? Stay safe, stay well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.